Mom, you're not welcome here. I only invited my mother-in-law. Please leave. I stood at the front door holding a tray of freshly baked lemon bars, his favourite since he was a boy. I had made them from scratch that morning, hands trembling from arthritis but heart excited to surprise my son for Mother's Day. I even wore the soft blue cardigan he once gave me and the necklace he bought me when he landed his first job. I had imagined a hug, a smile, maybe a shared laugh over tea. Instead, I was being pushed out like I didn't belong. His wife, Carla, was behind him with her arms crossed, smirking as if this humiliation were planned. My heart cracked, but I said nothing. I simply turned around and walked down the driveway, lemon bars still warm in my hands. Before I dive in, feel free to let me know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy the story, a like and subscribe would mean a lot. I got in my car, my hands shaking so much I could barely get the key in the ignition. I sat there, silent, not knowing whether to cry or scream. I couldn't understand it. What did I do? Was I too much? Did I interfere too often? Or was it simply because Carla never liked me? I had given up so much for James. I raised him alone after his father walked out. I worked 2 jobs. I gave up dating, vacations, and even the chance to finish college. Everything I did for him. And this was how it ended? A closed door on Mother's Day? I drove home in silence. The tray of lemon bars rested on the passenger seat. I didn't have the appetite to even open them. I placed them on the counter, untouched, and went to bed early. I didn't even brush my teeth. I just lay there in the dark, wondering when my place in his life had vanished so completely. The next morning, my phone rang before 6 a.m. It was James. "Mum, please, pick up, please," he said when I answered, his voice filled with panic. "What's wrong?" I asked, instantly upright. He didn't answer right away. All I could hear was frantic breathing. Carla took something important. I don't know what to do." "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "I think she took money. A lot of money." I said nothing. I let the silence speak. He went on. "From our joint account, it's all gone. I trusted her. I thought... She said it was just for her mum's trip to Cancun, but that doesn't explain everything." I was quiet. "Mum, I need your help," he said finally. "Please, come over, please." I almost laughed, but I didn't. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Just yesterday I was not welcome, and now he was begging me to come fix his disaster. Still, I said, "I'll be there in an hour." But I wasn't going for him. I was going for answers. I took the same lemon bars, now stale, and placed them back in the tray. I dressed simply, tied my hair back, and drove. The entire way there my mind raced. What had Carla done? When I arrived, I found James pacing in the driveway, wild-eyed. The house was eerily quiet. Carla was gone. He rushed to me. "She left. Her closet's empty. She took her passport. And look at the account." He shoved his phone at me. The screen showed a drained bank account, one I didn't know existed. "She took $78,000, Mum," he whispered. I blinked. "Joint account?" He nodded, eyes pleading. "She said we'd invest together, start a business. I trusted her." I didn't speak. I simply walked past him and entered the house. Every photo of them together was missing from the walls. Her perfume still lingered in the hallway. The guest room where her mother used to stay was empty. I opened the drawers, out of curiosity. Nothing. Gone. She was gone. "Why didn't you want me here yesterday?" I asked without looking at him. James didn't answer. I turned around. "You chose your mother-in-law. Why?" He fumbled. "Carla said you were controlling, that you'd make the day about you. She thought her mum would bring better energy." I nodded slowly. "And now?" He looked down. "Now I see she was trying to isolate me." I placed the tray on the table. "Eat. You haven't had anything yet." He looked at the lemon bars like they were ancient relics. I sighed and sat down. Do you know where she went? No, but I have an idea. She has an aunt in Arizona, but I don't even know if she went there. I looked around. Did she leave a note? No, just disappeared. I stood up. You'll need a lawyer. I know. And you'll need to file fraud, even if it's your wife. He hesitated. Do you think I can get the money back? I shook my head. I think you should worry about getting your dignity back first. He sat down like the weight of it all had finally landed, and then I asked, did she ever talk about this before? Moving money? Vacations without you? He blinked. She kept saying we should go on a cruise, but she kept cancelling last minute, said the timing wasn't right. I guess now I know why. I leaned forward. James, how long have you been ignoring the signs? He was quiet. A long silence passed. Then he whispered, I miss you, Mum. I looked at him, older than the last time I truly saw him. Not just in years, but in regret. Then maybe next time, I said softly. Don't tell me I'm not welcome. He nodded. But in that moment, I saw something behind his eyes, something he wasn't saying. Something was still missing from the story, and I was going to find out what it was. Because something about Carla's sudden disappearance didn't feel like just a betrayal. It felt like a plan, a deep one, possibly involving more than just money. I sat at James's kitchen table staring at the untouched lemon bars. The air in the room was stale, heavy with confusion and regret. James sat across from me, his head in his hands, silent. He looked like a little boy again, defeated, scared, and lost. But I wasn't just here as a mother. I was here as someone who had once been pushed out and now dragged back in. You said she took $78,000, I said slowly. From your joint account. James nodded. Did she have access to anything else? Business passwords? Work files? He looked up. She had my laptop and my phone for a few days while mine was acting up. I thought nothing of it. You gave her your passwords? He hesitated. Yeah, I mean, she's my wife, or was. My jaw clenched. I wanted to scream, not because he was careless, but because I had warned him, not directly but gently. Carla had always been cold, too polished, too rehearsed. She never laughed without looking at James first. She never offered help at family dinners. And yet she always smiled like she was performing for a camera only she could see. Did she ever ask about your clients? I asked. James worked as a freelance tech consultant, small businesses, mid-level firms, sometimes sensitive data. His eyes widened. Wait, she asked for my client list a month ago, said she wanted to help me market. I gave her a spreadsheet. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. James, if she took money and your client list, she didn't just leave. She executed something. He stood up and began pacing. Why would she do this? Why now? I looked around the house. It was too clean, sterile even. All traces of Carla were gone. Too clean, too fast. She's had this planned, I said. You were just too in love to see it. His fists clenched. But I loved her. I stood and put a hand on his shoulder. I know, and she used that. He looked at me, tears welling in his eyes. Mum, I feel like a fool. You're not, but we're going to fix this. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't used in years. Hello? Rita. I need a favour. Rita was an old friend, a retired private investigator, sharp, discreet, and 2 steps ahead of the police on a good day. I'm listening, she said. I need help finding someone. Fast. A woman named Carla, last seen yesterday. She's my son's wife. She emptied their account and ran. Rita didn't hesitate. Send me a photo and anything you know. I'll get started. James blinked at me. You know a PI? I smirked. Mothers know more than you think. He sat back down, a little hope returning to his face. Just then, a ping sounded from his laptop. An email. He clicked it. His face turned pale. What is it? I asked. He turned the screen toward me. It was a message from Carla's email. Subject: You'll understand soon. Message: Don't come looking for me. What I did was necessary. There's more you don't know, and if you dig, you'll regret it. We stared at the message in silence. She's playing with you, I said finally. He nodded, hollow. She always said she liked puzzles. I leaned in. Then let's solve her. That afternoon, Rita called back. She booked a one-way flight to San Diego yesterday morning. Alone, no return. Used your son's card. James winced. But, Rita added, she didn't board. What? I asked. She booked the flight but never went through the gate. Her boarding pass wasn't scanned. So it was a decoy, I muttered. Likely. I traced another transaction. Car rental 2 hours later. She rented a black Nissan and drove southwest. Last toll payment shows she passed Bakersfield. Then she disappeared. I thanked her and hung up. James looked like he'd been hit with a truck. I don't even know what to feel anymore. I do, I said. Feel everything. Then stand up. He looked at me. I've been through worse. I lost your father. I raised you on my own. I buried my dreams to build yours. And now I'm going to help you rise again. But only if you listen. He swallowed hard and nodded. I looked at the laptop again. The email, there's more to it. There's more you don't know. What do you think she meant? He shook his head. No idea. We didn't keep secrets, or at least I didn't. Was she ever in contact with your clients? Anyone odd? There was one guy. I didn't think much of it. She said he was a friend from college, always around when I wasn't. What's his name? He thought. Roman. Roman Velez. I froze. I knew that name. Years ago, he was part of a small scam ring in Arizona. Got arrested for tech fraud. Rita had tracked him once for a different case. I stood up again. She wasn't alone in this. James looked up. She was working with someone. And then I saw it. On the kitchen counter. A small black flash drive. Unmarked. I picked it up. James, did you leave this out? He blinked. No, that's not mine. I plugged it into the laptop. It auto-opened. One folder, titled, For Him. Inside were photos. Screenshots, recordings of James, his emails, bank logins, private texts, and one video. Carla's voice. If you're watching this, you were never supposed to be smart enough to find it, but just in case, congratulations. You cracked the surface. Keep digging, and you'll discover why I married you. James collapsed into the chair, shaking. And me? I was already dialing Rita again, because this wasn't just a runaway wife, this was a heist. And my son was the mark. James sat frozen, his eyes locked on the screen, unable to move. The video had stopped playing, but Carla's voice still echoed in the room. You'll discover why I married you. I stared at the flash drive still plugged into the laptop, and something shifted in me. This wasn't just betrayal. It was premeditated. It was strategic. And most terrifying of all, it was personal. I leaned forward, clicked into the folder, and checked the metadata. The files were created over the past 6 months. She had been collecting this, watching him, tracking him, building a digital footprint behind his back. James, I said slowly, how long have you had that laptop? He cleared his throat. About a year. Carla actually gave it to me. I blinked. She gave you the device? Yeah. It was a birthday gift. I felt my stomach drop. Then she's had access from day one. You've been using a compromised system. He covered his face with his hands. God, this can't be real. But it was. And it was about to get worse. Before I dive in, feel free to let me know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy the story, a like and subscribe would mean a lot. I clicked open the next folder titled Notes. Inside was a document named Plan B. I read aloud. If he begins to suspect, execute Phase 2, leave a trail to Arizona, rent under alias, avoid contact for 90 days, then initiate transfer through offshore account. If possible, frame Roman as decoy. Timeline, May 15th, June 30th. I checked the date. It was May 15th. She was already gone. The plan had already started. James was shaking. Frame Roman. I thought he was her old classmate. No, I said. Roman was her partner, but she planned to burn him too. This is insane. No, this is calculated. I picked up my phone and called Rita again. Rita, Carla planned everything. We found her flash drive. It has her escape plan. Roman was her partner, but she's going to leave him hanging too. Do you know where he is? Rita responded almost instantly. Funny you mention it. Roman Velez was arrested 3 years ago in Phoenix. He got out last summer. Since then he's been off the grid, until last month, when a woman matching Carla's description visited a P.O. box registered under his name. My eyes narrowed. She's setting him up. She's smart, Rita added, but not smarter than both of us. After hanging up, I turned to James. She was planning this for a year, James. Everything she did was for one goal, access. But why me? He whispered. I don't have millions. I'm just a consultant. Exactly. You're small enough not to raise alarms, but valuable enough to steal from. You've got client portals, financial access, and your name is clean. She used you as the perfect middleman. He buried his head in his arms. She never loved me, did she? I paused. No, she loved what you could give her. That night, we didn't sleep. We went through every single file on that drive, photos of client emails, fake invoices sent from his name, even audio clips of James talking in his sleep. She'd been recording him. I said it once, he muttered, that my old client still had access to a payment API. I didn't think it mattered. But it did, I said. She used it. I bet she's already draining those systems. The next day, Rita met us at a diner halfway between her home and ours. She pulled out a folder. You're not going to believe this, she said, sliding over photos. One showed Carla entering a small villa-style Airbnb under a fake name 4 days ago. Another showed her in a car with a man, not Roman. This is Jeffrey Lane, real name Jordan Mackenzie. He's got priors in wire fraud and identity theft. Guess what? He used to date Carla. I felt something twist in my gut. She's not working alone anymore. She's rotating allies, I whispered. Rita nodded. She burned Roman. Now she's on to Jordan, and I'll bet you anything she'll ditch him too when it's time. James looked between us. How do we stop her? Rita leaned back. We don't stop her. We trap her. James looked doubtful. How? She's smart. She's moving under aliases through states using burner cards and fake trails, but she has one weakness. What? Ego. Rita pulled out another paper. A week before she disappeared, she applied for a business license. Small one, just a shell company. But she used your address, James. James blinked. What? Why? She wanted to stay close enough to control you, but the paper trail gave us something important. She had to use some real ID, and now we know the alias she's operating under, Dana Price. That was our crack in the wall. We had a real name, a false identity tied to a location. Now we could move. I looked at James. This isn't over. He nodded. But even as I said it, I didn't know how much I was about to lose too, because Carla had one more surprise. Back home, I opened my own mail. A letter addressed to me, no return name, but postmarked from Bakersfield. Inside was a single photo. It was from 10 years ago. Me, holding James as a baby, and behind us was a man, blurred, but unmistakable. It was James's father, a man who vanished 30 years ago without explanation, and on the back of the photo, Carla's handwriting. Funny how your past always finds its way into your future. My hands went cold. She knew something about me. This wasn't just revenge against James, it was a web, And I was in it too. I held the photo in my trembling hands, staring at the man in the background, James's father. The man who left us with no explanation 3 decades ago. The man I told myself was dead, not just to ease the pain, but to move on. But now here he was, captured in a photo I had never seen before. Behind me, watching me hold James. And Carla, my son's runaway wife, had this photo. Not only that, she had mailed it to me with a message in her handwriting. Funny how your past always finds its way into your future. It wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration. She was letting me know she had been digging into my life too. Before I dive in, feel free to let me know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy the story, a like and subscribe would mean a lot. I sat at the kitchen table, the same place where I once taught James how to do long division, and where he now sat weeping just 2 days ago. But today, I wasn't his mother. I was a woman with unfinished business, and Carla had just made it personal. I picked up the phone and called Rita again. Rita, I need you to run a name. Aaron Thomas, born 1962, disappeared in 1995. She didn't ask questions. Give me an hour. I hung up and stared at the envelope again. It had no fingerprints. She'd used gloves. The stamp was real, not printed, and the address was handwritten. That meant she wanted it to feel intimate, intentional. James walked into the kitchen as I was still staring at the image. "What's that?" he asked. I hesitated, then slid it across the table. He studied it. "Is that you, with me as a baby?" "Yes." "And that guy in the background?" I nodded. "Is that?" "Yes." He sat down, stunned. "You told me he died." I looked at him. I lied. He looked like he'd been slapped. I didn't know what else to say. He disappeared, walked out one day and never came back. No note, no trace, no explanation. I tried to find him for 2 years. Then I stopped. I couldn't raise you and chase a ghost. James clenched his jaw. "And now Carla's bringing him back." "Yes," I whispered, "because she knows, somehow." James leaned forward. This is getting darker than I thought." I nodded. "She didn't just plan to rob you, she planned to break you." His phone buzzed. "Rita again." I answered. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "Your husband, Aaron Thomas, is alive, lives in Santa Fe, changed his name 20 years ago to Evan Riley, married, no criminal record, 2 kids." My heart stopped. "He's alive?" "Yes. And there's more. He was connected to Roman Velez's father. They worked in real estate fraud together in the 80s. Both disappeared when the FBI started sniffing." I covered my mouth. Carla hadn't married James by accident. She'd chosen him, as part of something bigger. I ended the call and looked at James. "Your father's alive?" He blinked slowly. "You're serious?" "Yes. And apparently his past ties to Roman's family. That's likely how Carla got in. She didn't just fall into this mess, she was born into it." "But why come after me?" I looked him dead in the eye. "Because you're the loophole. You're the unmarked piece on the chessboard. Nobody's watching you. No agencies, no flags. She could use you to move money, names and secrets. And when it was done, she'd vanish." James stood up and started pacing. "She manipulated me, built a fake life with me. For what? Some heist?" "It wasn't just a heist," I said. "It was legacy theft. She wanted to take everything, your name, your business, even your father's past." Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. We both froze. I opened it slowly. A delivery driver stood there holding a cardboard box. "Delivery for James, signature required." James stepped forward and signed. The man left quickly, almost too quickly. I shut the door and looked at the box. No return address again. James opened it slowly. Inside, a burner phone, a folded note, and a silver bracelet. He picked up the bracelet first. "It's mine," he whispered. "I gave this to Carla on our anniversary." The note read, "You're not ready for the truth. But your mother is. Ask her about the man in the barn. I staggered. That phrase, I hadn't heard it in decades. The barn. The one on my aunt's property. The one we used to visit in the summers. The one where… No, that couldn't be connected. James was already staring at me. What's she talking about? I swallowed hard. I don't know. But I did. And if Carla had access to that memory, it meant she'd spoken to someone I never wanted to see again. Not just my husband, but someone else. Someone who was there that night. Someone who knew what I buried. Now, I realized this wasn't just Carla's revenge. It was someone else's too. James stared at me, the note shaking in his hands. The words burned into both our minds. Ask her about the man in the barn. He said it again, quietly. What barn? I turned away from him, my eyes settling on the window, beyond the garden, as if staring through time itself. There was no easy way to say it. Not after all these years. Not after the years I had carefully tucked that memory away like a locked drawer in the back of my soul. But Carla had found the key, and now she was prying it open in front of my son. I took a long breath and finally said, When you were a baby, maybe 3 or 4 months old, I took you to my Aunt Helen's farm for the summer. It was supposed to be a place to hide, to heal after your father left. But something happened there. Something I never told anyone, not even the police. James didn't speak. He waited. There was a man. He showed up at the barn one night, said he knew your father, that he needed a place to hide. I refused to let him in the house, but Aunt Helen, she had a soft spot for strays. She let him stay in the barn. I rubbed my arms like the cold from that night had returned. He stayed for 3 days, said very little, always watching, always quiet. But the 3rd night, he came into the house. I heard the screen door creak, and when I went to the kitchen, he was standing there, holding you. James's eyes widened. I told him to put you down. He said, You don't understand what this boy is worth. I grabbed a knife from the counter and told him to leave. He didn't, so I lunged. James was still. I didn't kill him, I whispered, but I hurt him, badly. He dropped you and ran. That same night, Aunt Helen drove him to a hospital 2 towns over. He disappeared from there. We never spoke about it again. I thought he was just a drifter, maybe drunk, maybe desperate. But now, James finished the sentence for me. He was part of something, and Carla found him. I nodded. She's peeling back my past to destroy our future. The burner phone on the table vibrated. We both jumped. I picked it up. A message appeared on the screen. You're close, but you haven't figured out what James's father left behind. Find the red key. You know where it is. I stared at the message, stunned. Red key. That was another buried memory. Years ago, just after James's father vanished, I found a small red key taped under a drawer in his old study. I didn't know what it opened, but I kept it. Until one day, in a panic, I tossed it in a shoebox and shoved it in the attic. I turned to James. We need to go to my house, now. 30 minutes later, we were in my attic, surrounded by dust, old boxes and forgotten memories. I pulled down a warped cardboard box labelled Winter Clothes, 1998. At the bottom, buried beneath a moth-eaten scarf, was the red key. I held it up. This is what she's after. But what does it open? I paused. I don't know. But your father once worked in insurance, high-level policies. There was always this locked drawer in his filing cabinet. I tried opening it after he left, but I never found the key. Until this one. We climbed down from the attic and made our way to the garage where his old metal cabinet still stood, rusted but solid. James inserted the red key into the bottom drawer. It clicked. Inside was a single file and a USB drive. James took them out and placed them on the workbench. He opened the file first. His hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. These are insurance records. But not normal ones, they're shadow policies, offshore beneficiaries. 1, 2, Wait, $10 million? I took the papers and read carefully. They were real. James's father had taken out a complex series of life insurance policies under false names, with offshore accounts listed as recipients. The paperwork showed signatures, dates, and most shockingly, one of the beneficiaries was a child. James. He tried to hide it, I whispered. He wanted to vanish with the money, but couldn't bring himself to leave you with nothing. So he built this maze, left the key, buried the trail. James opened the USB drive next. It contained encrypted files, but one opened without a password. A video. We watched. On the screen appeared a younger version of James's father. Mid-30s, clean-shaven, sharp eyes. If you're watching this, then I'm likely dead. Or you figured out who I was. If it's James' son, I'm sorry. I wasn't who I said I was. I was involved in things I shouldn't have been. I thought disappearing would protect you. I was wrong. If it's her watching, Carla or whoever you are, you're too late. The account is locked. Only James can access it. And if he's opened this file, then he knows the truth. Don't trust anyone from the network, especially not Roman, or the woman calling herself Dana. The screen cut to black. Silence. James looked at me. He tried to protect me. I nodded. And Carla tried to steal this. Just then, the burner phone buzzed again. Another message. Bring the USB to the cabin at Owl's Ridge by midnight. Come alone, or everyone finds out what your mother did in the barn. My heart sank. She's bluffing, James said. No, I whispered. She's not. At 11:30 p.m, we pulled up to Owl's Ridge. James wasn't alone. Rita was with him, waiting in a black SUV across the dirt road with a drone overhead and her weapon in the glove box. Carla's game was ending tonight. James walked to the cabin with the USB in his jacket pocket and a mic wired under his shirt. The door creaked open. Carla stood inside. Her hair was darker now. New colour, new eyes, same cold smile. You came, she said. You left me no choice. Did you bring the USB? He nodded. Put it on the table. He placed it down. She picked it up. But before she could speak, the cabin door burst open. Rita entered with her badge raised. Carla Danvers, you're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to defraud federal accounts. Carla laughed. On what evidence? Rita dropped a printout of the flash drive's contents. And then another surprise. Roman stepped inside behind her, hands cuffed. He looked at Carla, stunned. You set me up. Carla's smirk faded. In seconds, she realised it was over. James had never come alone. The cabin was wired. Her final move failed. The months that followed weren't easy. There were court hearings, press coverage, and long interviews with investigators. Carla was eventually charged with conspiracy, fraud, and attempted theft of a federal financial network. But most of all, she was charged with betrayal, to a husband, to a family, to a past she tried to rewrite. James slowly rebuilt his life. He used part of the offshore money, now legally accessed, to start a foundation helping victims of financial abuse. We named it Red Key Trust, because sometimes the thing you hide the deepest becomes the thing that unlocks your healing. And as for me, on the next Mother's Day, James came to my house, with flowers and lemon bars. He hugged me tight and said, "You'll always be welcome, Mom." And for the first time in years, I felt whole again.